So today I wanted to talk to you about these new tech companies who have these really bright and visionary founders such as Facebook, Amazon, now Airbnb is going to IPO. And the thing that people struggle with at least value investors struggle with, is that these companies might be profitless for years or even decades. Some of them have been profitable since the beginning. And how do you put a value into a person, right? For instance, let's say facebook Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, from the get-go, he understood he was the man, right? He bought it from the two Brazilian twins. He bought Instagram, he bought WhatsApp, and we know where those platforms are today. And Facebook already has the users, so it can just, for instance, if it wants to go after Match.com, Tinder, or whatever other digital app, it can just hire a few coders and a project manager. And of course, I'm oversimplifying it, but it's more or less like this. It doesn't have to open a new factory, to build a new factory, or something of sorts. So it's pretty easy for these platform businesses to just go after a bigger TAM, a bigger addressable market in any other vertical. So Airbnb, I was just looking at the prospectus the other day, and Airbnb is more or less the same thing. These guys already have the people, already have the users, and they can just they can just hire a new team to go after something else. For instance, and I was just checking where can Airbnb expand into, and it can expand into a lot of different businesses because it already has the people, the users, and the hosts. But for instance, it can go after teachable.com, it can go after these learning platforms, online platforms, because it already has the people. It's now introducing online experiences such as cooking lessons, and I would say that they can go after whatever. They can just open new experiences such as music lessons, English lessons, or any other language. So they can just build or get into another TAM. And of course, the king of this is Jeff Bezos and Amazon. The thing is, this has worked pretty well since for the last, I don't know, 10 years, since the great financial crisis. And there are, of course, this is the ongoing discussion between value and growth that everyone's talking about today. The value guys are saying that this can't last forever. Trees don't grow to the sky. And growth guys are just cheering and clapping for and giving themselves a pat in the back for having foreseen all of this, right? And the thing is, when you have these guys, these platforms, first of all, that have made it, because before Airbnb or Facebook, there are a lot of other startups that are trying to get to where they are today, and a lot of them, most of them, can't make it, right? So these are the winners. They're already the winners. Even if some of these companies don't show profits, they're already the winners. If there will be the winners in 10 years, that's a whole different story. And that's the theme of this video. How can an investor be so sure that Brian Chesky or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, they're going to, right now they're already the winners, right? But how could have someone foreseen this, right? And how can we, investors, without relying on traditional metrics or P ratios or whatever, how can investors know that that particular guy or that particular team will make it in the future? And I guess that today this conversation is many people are having this conversation, and some think I have a mentor, an American guy that is let's say is American, just not to say who he is, and he says that I can't say he's not a growth investor, he's, let's say, a value investor, and he says I can figure out who is going to be the winner of tomorrow, in 5-10 years time, all right, by paying 20, 30, 40, 50 times earnings. You could do it if these companies were trading for 5 times earnings, but it's a whole different game when something is trading for a lofty valuation, and we've seen that with the 2000 crisis. And I was reading a research paper by Jim O'Shaughnessy, the guy who wrote What Works in Wall Street. I might be wrong here, but the O'Shaughnessy asset manager guy, and he was in 1997, he predicted he wrote about it, and he said, we're clearly in a bubble, and this is going to burst one day. And he was right, of course. Today, are we in a bubble? Are we not in a bubble? And that's not so much the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to think about how can investors understand who will be the owners, the founders, who will make it in 10 times from now.